Hey, how's it going, everybody? It is Jazzy, the Video Store Sasquatch here, and I went and saw Scream 7. It was awesome. Go see it. I can't tell you how good it was. There's seven of them by now. You shouldn't be waiting for reviews. Go see them if you're going to go see it. If you like the other six, go see this one. If you like four of the other six, go see this one. If you like one of the other six, go see this one. Basically, just go see this movie. It's fucking awesome, especially if you're a horror movie fan. You'll definitely enjoy it. I wish that the Halloween guys would have kind of saw them or talked to Kevin Williamson or something before they would have did this stupid Halloween that they came out with, because he really shows you what to do. And the one note I will give you is I feel like 5 and 6 definitely felt different than the other movies, but like as soon as you start this movie, it feels like you're into a Scream movie. So go see this movie. 100%. Good job. Don't listen to people that are just killing it because they just want to kill it. Trust me, this movie was good. The second part of our video today for the horror movie night, I just wanted to get that out of the way because I'm not really going to do full video, and it means I will not be doing a movie or another movie this weekend. Obviously, probably. I mean, I might. You never know. I might just get a hair at my ass and decide to go see another movie. But I did go see Scream 7. It was awesome. And then, like I promised you here, I have the outline that we've been talking about for the script I was making or going to make with you guys on this channel. So we will talk about that next. How's it going? Yep. So here we are. We're opening in 1975 in a small town in Iowa. If you want to know why it's Iowa, it's because it's my story. I'm from Iowa. It's going to be from the corn state here. We go through the main road and down the road to a barn where a wrestling ring is set up. You see a man standing with a whistle and a clipboard. And the other younger men doing exercises around the ring in groups. And when he blows the whistle, the groups switch workouts. So we kind of see that's a training camp for these wrestlers here. One of the smaller guys obviously having a problem finishing each set of workout, and as he's doing this, he kind of slows down, and the group kind of start to get upset with him. And as that happens, they get into a little scuffle. The coach breaks up with his whistle, makes the whole room run ropes one by one, while the smaller guy who couldn't keep up with the group walks around trying to get into a line. But each of the other guys keep pushing him away. You see that it's hot out. Of course, it's gonna be important. That it's very hot out. All these dudes are gonna be sweating. It's gonna be in the middle of the summer. We're gonna have a window up in the top of the barn somewhere. From that window is gonna be a little crystal, and that crystal is gonna go shine this little bright light. And as that is happening, it's gonna hit a kerosene here somewhere, fire. But that is after all this. The before all that, the coach leaves. Um, and then when he leaves, the other wrestlers decide to tie up the kid to the turnbuckles on the edge of each ring here. There's four rings. There'll be four long poles. They turn them to a turnbuckle pole ring there. They duct tape them. They keep them there. All of a sudden, this fire's happening, and everyone's in smoke, and all this chaos happens. They start piling out of the barn, and as that's happening, one of the wrestlers stops, realizes that's happening, and goes and tries to save the kid. And as that is happening, the coach kind of stops him or kind of pulls him out. And then we go into the opening sequence from there. Or we hear the screams and stuff like this, and we kind of watch it burn for a little bit. And then as that's happening, the opening sequence start. And during the opening sequence, we see the first couple of headlines: a tragedy about the tragedy in the barn. He moves to wrestling confidence to the guy that tried to save him, and more headlines mixed in the missing or not killed. I put killed here, but like tragic events that kind of surrounded the wrestlers that were involved in the barn. So we'll have pictures and stuff like this. So we know that those people are the ones that are involved here. We introduce ourselves to the characters here in 1995, so 20 years later. The only reason why I chose 1995 was one because this is like a real slow part of the business boom area, or this is right before the big wrestling boom in the 90s, and it kind of fits into everything. No cell phones, or well, little cell phones. You know, we're not going to show any cell phones because not many people, especially in middle America, would have had cell phones. You could argue that these wrestlers would, but you also got to argue that they'd be cheap too, and they are young. We see a girl walking out of a house, and we see the wrestler from the barn that tried to save the kid. And we put two together. That is his daughter. And that is she is on her way to Iowa here to be a part of a new territory that is going to happen. In the background, we want it to be sunny. We want it to be the sun shining. We want birds chirping. We want it to be very optimistic. This for this scene here, and when the boyfriend pulls up, we're gonna see that he's the actual wrestler, and she's the valet, even though we're gonna show that she's very equipped to be a wrestler. Just gotta remember this is the 90s, and at that point in time, there just was not a lot of female wrestling going on. So it just wasn't as popular for her to be a part of that. So that is what we're gonna do here is make her a manager. We go to a gas station where we meet not Jack like a truck stop gas station where we meet two brothers who are at the diner. They're discussing the new territory. They're obviously a tag team, a young cocky tall haired blonde, obviously from wrestling lore from the 90s. Gotta be tall, hunky, good looking, tall hair blonde guy here walks up to him, asks him how he knows him, starts to talk with them, then pretty much hitches a ride with them to there. We go back to the couple on the road. She's reading the map, says, "Hey, this is close to where my dad started. Maybe we go see that town." Because her dad would tell her about that. Um, and they agree that they'll do that. Um, After that, we get one more clear wrestler driving some kind of badass car, blacked out, mask on his passenger seat. Probably like a big pile of paperwork with headlines from the tragedies, but we can't really make out what they are. So looks like newspaper clippings. We don't really know what it is. We want this guy to be the guiding guy that's already on the ball, kind of knows what's going on somehow. He gets into the promotion here with the auditorium. A female introduces herself and takes him to the promoter. The promoter then is a trainer from the barn. Obviously, we're going to know this. They introduce themselves and they start small talk. A couple shows up to the town, see an old barn, walk over to it, pretty aged, vandalized, collapsed, and burned. She says it must be it. They decide to set up a couple camera pictures. And in this part, we just notice that in the very back, there's a killer or some guy wearing a lucha mask all covered in black with a trench coat, holding something in his hands. They don't notice it at all. We just kind of see it in the snapshot of the picture they're going to take and kind of ease out of here. We get the three guys from the gas station show up to the auditorium as a female from before is walking outside. She introduces herself and takes them to the promoter's office. They're right outside the office. Probably have her dip out of there before the couple shows up because that's important for the ending here. When that happens, they all end up outside. They all end up going into the auditorium where they see the ring and the original first guy that showed up in the dope car is already kind of running the ropes, like doing a little workout. They all introduce themselves. They say the couple says that they're planning on getting their pictures developed and sending them to Japan. They're all going to take pictures with each other. It's going to be important because that's what's going to send the dad as soon as he sees the promoter back to um, the states to get see his daughter. The first night of territory, we want them to be all gimmicked out again. We want optimism, very big optimism. One of the regular guys calls over the tag team and talk about their match a little bit. You can say a couple match montage for the night again. This isn't really going to be a wrestling movie. This is going to be a slasher movie that's going to be kind of set around wrestling. So it's not going to be that important that we show the events or the wrestling events or anything like that while we're doing this. But if you wanted to, you could obviously throw in some of that. The local tag team in their hotel room at night, drinking together, probably watching something crazy. Probably watching wrestling is probably the best way to go here. The bigger the two guys go to get something to eat down the street. After he leaves, you hear knocking. The guy thinks it's gonna be a rib or something pulled on him, so he answers the door, and then we get the first attack. Boom! That guy, the lucha guy from the photo, kills him. When the bigger guy comes back, they scuffle, but he kills him too pretty quick. We don't want a huge scuffle. We kind of want it quick. We want to make it look like the masked guy knows what he's doing, and he is a very well put together killer. On the next day, the hotel room is empty and they clean as the tag team goes there to talk with them about the next match and road trip there. We're about to go on. They're, oh shit, he's not even there. They go. The commander says that he had checked out and left already. So we'll go to a couple weeks later. Maybe a little bit grayer in the sky, but still pretty bright sky here. Maybe outside if we're showing it. Maybe a clearer sky at night. A couple after a match in the locker room discussing where they're going to eat, and the tag team tells them about this place. So again, we get a couple more townspeople that we can meet in this diner when we get there. And then also the killer's going to be there, and we're kind of going to separate this part. So C, we'll go into E here, and then after E happens, we'll go into D. So he goes, he gets some. So C here is the masked man's outside the diner, so we know he's out there. He's messing with the couple's car. They leave after this, and then it cuts to the singles guy separates from the tag team with a female. They get to the hotel room wherever we want to see it. We see the masked man following them out to the hotel. He goes and gets something from the hotel lobby while the girl's alone. So the wrestler guy the man comes back, kills the killer. So we get the same setup pretty much here, and then kills the wrestler. A little bit bigger of a struggle, but not too much bigger. We want the killer to be very fast and like he can kill, but we also want him to be able to fight because we got to show that he's going to fight later on. The next morning, the tag team at the singles door knocking, no one answers. They take off. The couple's in the hospital, getting ready to leave, and this is where we get the phone call with the dad here. So really, D goes all the way after uh goes after H, and then the couple shows up, seems confused, telling him that they're skepticism, thinking he wouldn't have left without telling him. So the tag team talks about how the blacked out car shows up to this barn in the middle of nowhere. So this is so all this happens. Basically, we get the couple and the tag team together, and they're like confused. They don't understand what happened and all this. And in the meantime, we get a phone call from the dad in Japan, and he is looking at the pictures, but he doesn't see them all. So he just misses the promoter. He goes off to his match somehow, gets interrupted, and then comes back later on, having a drink, and then he'll see that, and that's what will get him back to the States. And that'll be after this part here. The blacked out car shows up to his barn in the middle of nowhere with a wrestling ring inside, and it looks vacant. He walks in the area. Um, he sees like the top of the garage with the top in the top area of the barn with headlines about the girl's dad and the string of wrestlers and weird deaths and murders. He says something like, "I knew it" to himself. Grabs a headline. You hear a door open. He starts to run around saying hello. The killer gets in. And so back in Japan, like I said, we get the dad. He's having a drink. Oh shit! He calls them. Of course, they aren't there. I'm at the hotel. They say they got a phone call from their dad. She goes to call, no answer. So we get that kind of right there. The dad is on a plane with a drink and the photo in his hand and looking concerned, of course. The couple show up to the address. It's the address for the spot show that the promoter gave them for the night before. The promoter meets them outside and tells them to come in. When they walk in, the tag team is already tied up to turnbuckles or tied up wherever they want to be turned up to. I put turnbuckles just because that's where the kid was tagged up to. It kind of makes sense, but you don't really have to do that. And also it kind of helps with the next part here. The dad shows up to the hotel, goes right to the room. They're not answering. He gets in somehow, and when he gets in, he sees that there's an address written, and he goes to that address. We get to the barn. It's all blacked out. There are single lights on the promoter. The barn door opens. The spotlight hits that guy, and the promoter starts talking about how his son died 20 years ago, and he's been making all the people since then kind of make up for their actions here. Even though the guy did try and save him, you gotta remember that. And then basically they call for a death match um, with the guy and his guy. The photographer, who we are going to introduce again earlier into the movie, realizes that this is all like real and fucking hands the girl something as they're moving her to a chair or wherever you're going to move her to get her out of there. The man and killer in the middle of the ring, and the promoter rings the bell himself. They start to attack each other when this looks like a real MMA fight, even though you could really use like some real wrestling moves, like a power driver or something, and maybe put like a green screen on the mat so you can actually get the little drop off, so it looks like the head's going through and stuff like this, to make it look powerful. And then as they're going, they run into the outside of the ring. The boyfriend dies somehow with a missed move. Maybe he got out, his arms got out, and he grabbed the guy, and then the dad or something missed move. She really starts to cry. Then she gets out. The dad is then hurt real bad. He's about dead. She gets there. I say stab him in the head here. Now that I think about it, probably stabs him through the torso. He freaks out. The killer freaks out. And as he's freaking out, he goes and he kills the other tag team guy because we want the daughter to be the final girl. We want a real true final girl. Um, Yeah, so where are we at here? Okay. And she talks with the dad. Okay, so where are we at here? So the man and the killer are in the middle of the ring, blah blah. She gets out of cuffs. She talks with her dad. After this, he dies. The killer starts to stir again for the final scare. Boom! This time she stabs him through the head with whatever, probably a light bulb or something or a bottle. The cops rush in with the photographer behind the promoter is arrested. Aftermath: the daughter in the hospital room, looking beat up, getting the whole story explained to her about how the promoter's been doing this for years and he's caught up with almost everyone. And the dad was the last one. And they thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe. Comment your top movie picks for Throwback Thursday in the comment section. And see you next time in the cave.